lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to Now Slain, an It Slays podcast production where we review the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And it's not Colton this time, but it's Gill.
Yes, I've taken over hosting duties. Colton is away at work.
I murdered him.
Yeah, so we are taking over this episode, and it's a double feature episode. What a shame he gets to miss this banger. Two bangers.
Double the banger.
Double the banger. That's a double bang. I need like sound effects or something. Colton would hate that if we just inserted lots of sound effects throughout the episode. We come kind of like a crazy radio show in the morning style.
My guy, you say the word, I'll make us our own soundboard. I'll spend the week going out like making different sounds.
So, yeah, like I said, we're here for a double feature. We had two films release this weekend. That was Infested on Shudder and Humane that is in select theaters, but it also came to VOD. So we're going to start with Infested, which came to Shudder on April 26th. Now, before we get into it, Gill, were you excited for Infested? Did you know anything about it? And are you scared of spiders?
Yeah, so I actually didn't know anything about this movie until you told me, like,
until I was like,
days
Jill,
ago.
You have to watch this.
And I was like, okay, I'll, take one for the team, I guess, as they say. But yeah, never heard of it. I was kind of excited to get on Shudder and see something on there because I don't pay enough attention to Shudder at all. They have a lot of really good underrated shit, and I like that they have stuff that's like live.
Yeah.
Like when I went to go watch this, they had the Autopsy of Jane Doe on. Didn't watch it because I'm a fucking pussy. But back to Infested. Yeah, I'm fucking scared of spiders. Duh, I'm not an idiot. So yeah, I'm scared of something that can kill me and is gross and weird. And I'm from Newfoundland. We don't have like insects, really. We don't have anything because nothing can live there. It's so fucking barren and shit. So yeah, I'm scared of anything because I'm not used to it. So, and it's been a while since I've really seen a good spider horror film. I think the only other one that I can, that I remember is, what was it called? Eight-Legged Freaks.
Oh, yeah, David
Was
Arquette.
that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, back in what was it, the 90s or the early 2000s?
2000s, yeah.
Yeah. So, scare spiders. Never heard of it before. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, so, I mean, I can't act, better than you in this situation because Infested wasn't really on my radar fully until a couple weeks ago, where I do know this played at some French film festivals last year. There was a little bit of buzz about it, but as time kind of was proceeding to this release date on Shudder, I was hearing more and more excitement for this film, and people were like, this is, this is something that it's been a while since we'd have a film like this. So I was pretty excited to check it out. As for spiders, I think I've said before in other episodes, it's one of my top fears. I hate spiders so much. Ever since I can remember, I have. And, arachnophobia had already done a number on me as a child. So usually I try to stay clear of spider movies, anything about spiders. If they're in my home, much to Exilia's dismay, I usually destroy them at all costs. I'm like the Terminator when it comes to spiders. I just, get them in my sights, pinpoint them, and hope their families watch me just demolish them.
Oh, you're better than me because I'm too scared to kill them, so I get my husband to do it.
Yeah, it usually works out unless, I hit them with something and then they don't die and they fall towards me, and then I scream in a very high-pitched voice, and I don't enjoy it. But do these spiders live up to our fears? We'll find out when we get done with the trailer.
Oh, c'est quoi tout ça, Ali, là? Quoi, ça t'intéresse, les bestioles? Oh, mais ça m'intéresse à mort. Fais gaffe quand même, hein.
T'inquiète, je te dis, moi je suis un pro. Je te ramène à la maison. Let's go.
Comment t'as fait pour pécho ça?
Toi, tu kiffes dormir avec ça dans ta chambre.
Non mais tu sais qui leur parle?
Bah sérieux.
Je te promets, meuf.
Théo, tu te caches, Théo. Tu te fous de ma gueule.
Il a fait un malaise, c'est ça?
Sa gueule, c'était pas un malaise ça.
Un truc qui tue aussi rapidement, c'est impossible, non?
Ce qu'il avait au bras là, ça vient pas d'une seringue.
Si ça vient pas d'une seringue, ça vient de quoi alors?
Vas-y. Chaud.
So, Infested is directed by Sebastian Van Scheck. Colton, you did this to yourself by letting me do this episode and have foreign names, so I'm sorry, man. And it is written by Florent Bernard and Sebastian Van Scheck, and the synopsis is as follows. Residents of a rundown French apartment building battle against an army of deadly, rapidly reproducing spiders. So here on Now Slaying, we like to keep things spoiler-free to start with. So Gill, why don't you start us off with some of your spoiler-free thoughts?
Okay, well, I thought the very beginning, the French rap, like after that opening scene, went pretty hard. So before I say anything else, I need to know how you feel about the French rap.
I am totally for it. So I'm kind of, French rap is like one area where I'm not like, I don't know much about it. I'm a big fan of like grime and English rap.
Grime.
Yeah, grime.
That is so cool. I've never heard anyone say that before, except like on TikTok.
So, I'm a big fan of that. I think it goes harder than like, American Canadian hip hop. It kind of has like a Chicago drill base to it. But this was, I really liked this. I was definitely like, there was a couple times that I caught myself just kind of like nodding my head where I was like, yeah, this is fucking just banging. So I was like a big fan of the music and musical choice because, usually more times than not, either A, horror movies that use rap music use terrible rap music or just terrible choices, which me and Colton talked about with Abigail. And, we didn't really like the choices of hip hop in that. Or, like most horror movies, there isn't hip hop. There's usually not any sort of hip hop element. So I thought, this was very well used and an interesting choice because to me, this is a make or break thing in a horror where when there's hip hop, I'm assuming, okay, we're trying to gearing it towards like our age, a little younger. And, is that going to work? Is this someone just like preaching down on us or someone our own age that understands the concepts? Yeah, and that totally makes or breaks it. Like, is it going to come off as cringy or does it fit, And this definitely fit. I like the origin story at the beginning before we like get to our current protagonists and all that stuff. I thought that was cool. I don't know how spoiler free we're going, so I don't know if I should talk about the specifics until later. But your best judgment. Okay. I'll probably talk about it later. But as a whole, I think the movie was shot really well. I like the way they switch different frames kind of rapidly. And everything feels so, detailed and like high definition. And you can definitely tell, and I love that. And I also love that this movie is French. And this is our second French horror film
in the podcast in like the last year because we did the Christmas one
Yeah.
with Dial Code Santa Claus or whatever. So yeah, it's really cool to explore French horror. I have a French degree and this is like the most work I've gotten out of my French degree since, getting it. So that's cool. And I used to be a really big pretentious asshole back in the day when I was studying French. I used to watch French films all the time. So I do really miss watching French films. So maybe we should explore more French horror because I liked it.
I mean, you're
What about
talking
you?
to the right guy because, French New Extremity is my jam. I pretty much love all French horror. So you're speaking my language now.
Good.
Not French, because I don't understand it. So French immersion did not work out for me. I am your shining example how it doesn't work for some people. So, I mean, some of the things I had was, my number one spoiler-free note in general, as you could tell before we got into this, was, fuck spiders. Fucking spiders, man. I hate them.
Fucking spiders.
So, no, but like you, I thought this was shot really well. I was very interested in just seeing how, as a director, because I didn't mention it before, but this is Sebastian Van Schaek's debut feature film. He's only done shorts. And, of course, the big kind of the hype up of this movie was that they recently announced that he's been the one tapped to shoot the new Evil Dead movie. He's going to be the director for the new Evil Dead film. So obviously that kind of brought my interest more into this as a franchise, that I really enjoy. And, I did enjoy the last one, Evil Dead Rise, but I think me and Colton were kind of medium on that. I didn't necessarily think it was, the best entry into the franchise. And I'll just say, I think we're in pretty good hands. This is shot very well. I thought, in terms of like jump scares, I'll get into like some of the actual details in the spoiler section, but I did think this was one of the like scariest movies I've seen in like a long time. I myself, who always praises how hardened and soulless I am. I was jumping. I was like, my skin was goose bumping. I had anxiety. So, I thought it was pretty effective. In terms of that, and just as a creature feature in general, which I find is a genre of horror that I enjoy, but it doesn't always work for me as a horror movie. And I thought the spiders actually looked pretty good in this. From what I could see, he did a mix of some real, some CGI. Obviously, there's not like children-sized spiders, I don't think, in the real world. I hope there isn't, or if there is, that I never live in that place they are. But, I thought that mixture really worked. I thought at no points did it really take me out of it. Like, even if I knew, okay, this part's definitely CGI, I thought it was lit dark enough, yet light enough for me to see that. I just thought overall it looked really, really good. And I will say the cast, I was pretty impressed with. It seems like most of these people, this is either their first film or they've only really been in indie stuff. I did recognize our main guy, Caleb, the actor's Theo Christine. He was in Gran Turismo that came out last year. I thought he was fantastic in this as a lead. I think I'll probably get into him more in the spoiler section also.
Yeah, just gonna kind of piggyback off of everything you just said. But Evil Dead Rise, I think I was one of the few people maybe who liked it a lot. And I love the 2013 remake. A lot. So I'm kind of excited to see what this guy is going to do with his entry in the franchise based off watching this. So yeah, that makes me feel good because like you said, it is very scary, especially if you're afraid of spiders. Like this really taps into your fear of spiders, but also like other tropes of fears like confined spaces and darkness and things like that. I won't say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything. But to go back to the jump scares, there's definitely some good ones here. And you talked about creature features. Like you said, it's one of your favorite kind of subgenres. But a lot of times movies kind of flop when it comes to creature features, unfortunately. Like, it's a very delicate genre.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it right, it's going to be cheesy, and then no one takes it seriously, and less people, want to do things like that. So it's good to get a good creature feature every once in a while just to keep it fresh. I also thought the spiders looked really good in this, and they had a nice diversity of like what they could look like. What else was I going to say? Yeah, the actresses. I really like them, like the sister.
Yeah.
I don't think she's been in much else. And honestly, most of them haven't really been in much but like French films that I don't know personally. But I thought the two actresses were really good. The like friend and the sister.
Leela, I think, was the friend's name.
Yeah. She has an amazing performance later on. Not going to say anything. But yeah, everyone did a really good job, I think.
Yeah, I think all I really have left to in the spoiler-free section for this is I did really enjoy the sound work in this. I thought, a movie like this, I was interested whether or not how they were going to use sound with it, because obviously in the real world we know spiders are generally soundless creatures. So I just thought they did a good job setting up the eeriness of it, and I just want to reiterate, like my last kind of note on this was like, I'm fully okay with the Evil Dead franchise in this guy's hands now. Obviously, this, really made me think of Evil Dead Rise because of the apartment building complex and that kind of horror, which seems to be, as populations grow and we see more, more people our age, not in homes, but in apartments. This is like a reality that's fun to play with in horror. Yeah. And I just thought he had such a good tone of a dichotomy of this like jump scare, but also just like eerie, creepy, but also, feeling something for the characters and just building tension. And I was like, yeah, this to me is what I think, an Evil Dead could use, that I kind of thought lacked in the other one, where I felt a lot of the stuff in the other one was like a shock value thing, and there was no like emotional weight or real build up to it, where I was like, yeah, I think this guy's gonna be able to give us something that we want.
Yeah, in the last Evil Dead movie, they really tried to like bring it so no one would question them, I think, and just like, like you said, shock value. But yeah, just to go back to the sound stuff you're talking about, it was really cool that they made sounds for the monsters, for the spiders, that I wouldn't have thought of to use.
Yeah.
And it really worked. It was spooky. So yeah, that's a great point.
Before we get into the spoiler section of it, Gill, would you recommend people check out Infested?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we kind of said earlier, there's not that many spider movies out there, and it is a fear that most people have, so I feel like most people would find this either unsettling or terrifying just because it's a really common fear, but also, I don't know, I really like it being French, and I think we should really be watching more foreign films, I guess, especially horror. So yeah, I think people should definitely check it out, give it a chance, and that's really good. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I think I always feel like I don't know, I caught a case of the Gills lately. I've been really positive on Now Slain. I feel more positive than normal. I think we're just in a fantastic year. I was thinking back to me and Colton talking about The First Omen and how we're just like, this might be the new like Jordan Peele. And like, this is like such a fantastic debut feature, and how lucky we are. And then this is another one where I'm like, I think it's kind of the same case. I don't know if I put like a Jordan Peele stamp on it, but this is like an insanely strong directorial debut for me. I think everyone should see this because I think it's a good time. Even if you're not a fan of subtitles, just live through it, because I think it will definitely give most people, some scares, some creeps, some icks, and I think people would just find a good time, and it's streaming on Shudder, so it's not like you're gonna have to pay like $60 to get your food and your tickets in the theater. Like, you can just get this at home. $5.99 for Shudder, and they're not paying me to say that. I'm just saying that
Sure.
you can sign up and watch it, and I don't know, maybe watch something else while you're at it. So yeah, I mean, 2 recommends from us, I think, is pretty good cosign. But with that, let's cut on over to the spoiler section. So we are now in the spoiler section. This is your last opportunity. If you haven't seen Infested and you want to and not have anything spoiled for you, shut this off now, and then you can come back after. Get out.
Get the fuck out.
But if you don't care and you just want to listen to us, you can continue on. So Jill, we're in the spoiler section now. Is there anything you want to immediately spoil?
Yeah, every time we do something like this, there's always that burning question right off the bat. Every time you see a nice, cute little doggy. In this case, we got Maggie the pit bull. Super cute. I saw her, and my note is, Maggie the pit bull is cute as fuck. Please don't die. And I knew you were going to have something to say about that, so I just...
Yeah, I mean, I knew the minute I saw Maggie the pit bull that Maggie was not meant for this world that long. But this is where I was saying, like, I just think kind of the mastery of his craft of directing this film was... Because I feel like a lesser film that, like, when the owner of this dog kind of, gets bit and then infested with these spiders, like, any other director probably just would have immediately killed the dog.
Oh, yeah.
And that, this kind of carries on with other things in the movie, but they do so good of, like, holding your attention so you're like, oh, okay, I got to remember this shoe, or I've got to remember this character or this item, because you're like, something's obviously, it keeps showing me this thing, which they do with the dog. There's so many opportunities for this dog to die on screen or something to happen, and nothing happens. And it's just like this awesome anxiety created. Even for me, I will say, I thought it was a very nice dog, seemed pretty friendly. Yeah, the death was, to me, more shocking because it wasn't a case of, like, we see the dog die. It was like, we just kind of pan into this room and you're just kind of, seeing the blood pour out of, half of the body. Yeah,
they do that in a lot of scenes, like masterfully building tension and doing things that are unexpected, like when we know the spider has chewed a hole out of the box and we see the hole of the box, we see the spider fuck off. And then we see him go to the box, rifle through the tissue paper, and there's still like a part of me that's like, oh, maybe it's back in there, it's gonna jump out. Like, they spend so much time on that you're convinced that that's gonna happen, and then it doesn't, and then he finally notices the hole in the box. But it's like little things like that. And also, probably the most powerful point in the movie for me, besides like the tunnel, we'll come back to that, or like the entryway to the parking garage or whatever, but it's when Jordy dies. And you don't see it, you hear it, and you hear everyone's reaction to it, and you hear him screaming through the vents, and they're almost in complete darkness save for the flare. So everything that you're seeing is illuminated in this red light, and it makes it even like more powerful and sad and tragic. And back to that actress I was talking about who plays, was it Lila or
Lila, Sophia Lezafree.
Yeah, she had such a good performance where you can see how much pain she's in over like losing her boyfriend, and the whole scene is just them like screaming and listening to this guy die, and they can do nothing about it. And it was so good.
I thought, Jordy's death definitely harrowing. And this is where, like, just the storytelling was so well done, because by that point, like, we know there's, like, this tension between Caleb and, like, Caleb and Jordy. And like, we're kind of getting the picture of how all these friends work and or acquaintances. And it does such a good job of giving you the info you need, not giving you you too much info so that the deaths do, have an impact.
Yeah, more weight.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Like I was a big fan. I really liked was it Mathis's death?
Yeah.
Who I thought was like kind of a great little thing, because I believe it was Mathis's character that was like the MMA fighter, or like kind of this failed boxer, and and he's MMA, but we kind of get from the beginning that he's like kind of a doofus, maybe not like as bright as the rest of them. And then I was kind of all with glee when he kind of takes the reins when Caleb's like breaking down, everyone's breaking down, they feel hopeless. So then you kind of get this like lovable idiot, right? That's just like, all right, I have this plan, and like this plan's gonna work, and you just kind of knew. You were like, wow, obviously this guy's gonna screw it up. And even I'm thinking about the chase in the apartment where they are escaping the basement. Like I even love, which I didn't think I was gonna like, but I loved like the little conceits of like, oh, like if there's lights on the spiders, like they stand still. Like, obviously, my own fear of spiders is, they just sit there, and then they're, you're like, the only time they move is when you want to kill them, of course. But, like, I just like that. So at least there was something there. It wasn't just spiders indiscriminately killing people, and it's like light or no light. Like, there's no protection against it. But, like, I love that whole scene where it was, with the flashlight and the flares, and it was almost like this game of, like, peekaboo, like, or I guess more like a red light, green light with the spiders.
I was gonna say, I love it when horror deprives you of a sense. So, like, A Quiet Place, you have to be quiet. Darkness Falls, and, things where you need light. And they really played on that here with the light situation, where they have the wind-up, like, dialed light, and they have, like, a minute to run through this tunnel. Yeah. And you just know it's gonna be awful. And then the lighter scene where she's in the tunnel, like, the light plan fucked up or whatever. So she lights her lighter, and you can see like all the webs around it. And then the spider just like right in front of her face, I think is a really good scene. And they're like, burn it all down. And, she's really scared to move. I think that's really good. And also the wind up flashlight. I feel like that's another thing I really love in horror, because it's just so scary when the light, the light's going to fail and it's going to go out, and then you're fucked. So, yeah, I 100%. I love that.
Well, and like you said, like the kind of the basement storage area that, the light switch that only stays on for a minute. It's kind of, like we talked about with the dog, where from the very beginning of the movie, we're introduced to like this item, how it works, how it's faulty. And then it's like, and then we have the tension of everyone needs to go down this hallway that is basically just entirely infested with like thousands of spiders. Their webs are all there. And then it's like, okay, well, we know this light only works like 50% of the time on the other side. And like, so someone is going to get fucked here. The tension building is so fantastic in it.
Yeah, you're right about that. Like, they're always showing you things over and over again, but it's not a bad thing. It's like a good foreshadowing. But yeah, the lights, like every time they walk down the stairs, it goes off and they have to move to put it back on. Another instance of where they do something like that is when the sister is always turning off the lights or the heaters for the bugs in his room. So once he puts a spider in there, she's going to turn it off. And, the spider's going to want to get out or whatever.
I wasn't 100% convinced on the plan when they check the shoebox and it's got like the cocoon in it. And then it's just like all these spiders. I was like, I'm pretty sure this tape isn't holding those like the edges of the shoebox are like kind of like flayed open. Like, could they not just get out? Which I mean, it's like, it's whatever. It did like bug
That's like a
me.
fluke.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, this seems like you need a better plan to especially where they already knew that the first spider that he brings home like chewed through the box. So it's like yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust those spiders in there.
I don't know if this was like really explored in the movie or not, or like said to us, but the giant fucking spider at the end, is that supposed to be the original spider that he brought home?
So I was kind of wondering that. I kind of assumed that maybe it was, because I thought it was like kind of interesting that, because I guess my thing about it was, from my understanding, was we see when he brings the spider home, like, you know, he talks to it and, like, you know, he's like, oh, you're beautiful, like, protects it. And they make it a point, like, a couple times to talk about, like, how he's really good to all these, like, you know, creepy, crawly creatures that most people would just, like, kill. Because he's got, like, worms and cockroaches and centipedes and stuff and, like...
Frog.
Yeah, frog. I mean, I don't know how many people are killing frogs, but... Yeah, I mean, so I kind of took it as... Especially because, you know, he says, shut off the light, and the spider actually doesn't attack him. The spider, like, walks away.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, this is actually the spider he brought home, and this spider is kind of cognizant of what it's doing.
Yeah.
Which I could see some people kind of getting mad about that and being like, oh, this is stupid.
That's lame.
Yeah, like, this is kind of lame. But, you know, I thought it was super interesting. I am kind of curious, like, which I didn't mind, but, you know, at the end there, I thought it was kind of funny, like, they're demolishing the building and stuff, because I was just like, how did they kill all the spiders? Like, the spiders killed it. Like, demolishing the building wouldn't kill the spiders, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering that, too. I was wondering if, you know, if they were supposed to be, like, a spider that needs to be in a warmer area. I was wondering if they would die, like, in France, because it's too cold for them. But
yeah, it is pretty chilly, so...
But then the spider at the end is outside, so...
Yeah.
That's not true. So yeah, I don't know. Plot hole.
Well,
But
whatever.
they intended
Yeah.
to make a sequel, so...
But, I mean, yeah, there was lots of other stuff I loved about this. Like I said, I just love how intricate of a character Caleb is, because realistically, like, Caleb isn't necessarily, like, a good or a bad guy as your lead, you know, like... He's kind of scamming people that we get from the beginning. He makes, like, a lot of stupid decisions, obviously, like, you know, like, they're not well off. He's just trying to, you know, do anything for a hustle as a come up. But I just like the complication of, you know, it seems that everything he does, something ends up going wrong, which then also made me really think. I was like, oh, yeah, this guy's ready. Get Bruce Campbell back. You're ready to do Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell. Because, I mean, that's a Bruce Campbell Evil Dead character. Like, Bruce Campbell fucks everything up. Like,
Yeah.
Ash is a character that just fumbles everything, does the wrong thing, that creates more havoc, which is
True.
exactly what this guy did. Like, he brought the spiders in. Basically, even the decisions he's making that would be good, like saving people or, you know, not leaving people behind, it's like people that he probably shouldn't save or leave behind because he's putting himself and everyone he's with at risk. But I love a complicated protagonist, so...
Yeah, because he's also very endearing. You know, he's helping the little caretaker lady when the other people are being stupid to her and making a mess. I'm sorry, you said he was scamming people? I didn't pick up on that.
Well, like, I don't know if I'd say scamming. I kind of got that vibe, you know, hustling. Let's say hustling better. But I mean, like, you know, he goes to Ollie's, who, at the beginning, who has, like, the store, but obviously he's selling stuff out of the back illegally. And it's like, you know, he's trying to get a deal on the earrings, and he, like, lies about who they're for, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know me, man. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
my word is real. Even though I won't swear on anything, like, you know, you can trust me. And then the earrings actually aren't for who he said. Not that they're not for a good cause, but he was willing to, like, lie to get what he needed at the price he needed because he needed them.
I want to say the guy that owns the shop in the beginning, Ali, he's hilarious because when he starts talking about how AliExpress, like, probably stole his name.
Yeah.
And, like, his business idea. I think that's so funny. Another thing I want to talk about is how amazing the exterior of the apartment looks. Like, great set.
Yeah, oh yeah, fantastic. It was giving me a lot, like, I don't know much about, like, lower income French, you know, architecture or just area or stuff, but it really reminded me of, like, you know, like, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite television shows is Top Boy, which is like, it's like The Wire, but it's set in England. And, you know, it reminded me of like the project settings in that, which, I mean, realistically, States, Canada, England, France, like, projects seem to generally look about the same. The low-income area, apartment buildings.
Yeah, except that exterior was really nice. So when I saw the inside of it, I was a little confused, especially, like, we're introduced to the apartment through his, like, little storage closet where he's selling these shoes from.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting, too, to have that setting. Like lower income apartment building. You know, it really sets up like the characters you're going to have in this, and also the sense of community that they have for each other. So like, you know, them trying to save each other probably makes more sense than like, you know, Evil Dead Rise. The neighbors don't really give a fuck about each other, you know? But this did such a better job at utilizing that like community that you would have. And because, you know, it's lower income, they're doing everything they can to make money. And that's also like a major driver of the movie to like certain plot points. Like, why don't they just leave?
Yeah.
And, you know, things like that. So I really like the device of the lower income the lower income characters, whatever.
I do want to shout out probably my favorite scene that I love. There's no way this wasn't like a little nod to arachnophobia, but it's the discovery of Claudia's body in her apartment, where, you know, they're banging on the door, she's not answering, they go in, all that's illuminating her is the television set, and you hear the spiders like clicking. It's like like this awesome click, super creepy, and you can like see her head jerking, and you're trying to figure out, you know, is she infested and like alive? But but then you discover it's not. The spiders are like just coming out of like orifices on her face and things like that, which always those scenes in Arachnophobia were like, you know, I just remember there's like a scene in a living room in Arachnophobia where like spiders kill a guy eating popcorn and then he's dead, and then it's like coming out of his mouth and nose and stuff. And
God.
Yeah, like this was like that, except I thought even creepier. And I thought it was like shot so well. It was so great. It was just so badass, scary, and horror.
Very visceral. Yeah, I like that scene too. Another scene I liked, not as, you know, good as that one, but kind of near the beginning when he brings the spider into the room with all the other insects and animals, the creepy crawlies, and you can see them all slowly start to like turn and look or like stop dead in their tracks. Like they sense something dangerous, something sinister about the spider, and I think that's really cool. It kind of reminded me of just because I watched Jennifer's Body not too long ago, the scene where Jennifer takes the football guy out into the field and she's about to like kill him or fuck him or whatever, and all the animals in the forest just stop and watch. Really cool.
Yeah, I always love stuff like that. Just the sense that animals kind of know before people that something bad's gonna happen or that there's like an evil presence.
Yeah.
That animal intuition.
I also like that he named the spider Rihanna because she's fresh.
Yeah, I did love that.
Is that a solid name choice, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, he obviously thinks Rihanna is a very nice lady and wanted to show his appreciation.
Another thing I didn't expect from this movie was the ACAB presence. But I guess in French, it's Baz la Police, which they had like spray painted near the property at the end, which I thought was cool. And they had Mathis's name there as well. And all the pictures of the people who died. I thought that was really cool.
Although Caleb didn't die and his picture was there, but that's okay.
Weird. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because I was like, oh shit, Caleb died. Because they kind of, you know, when he opens the garage door, white it out. And then and then I'm pretty sure that was a picture of him like dead in the middle of the fence. And then, I was like, oh shit. And then they show the sister and Leela on the stairs, like hugging. And then it cuts to Caleb in the woods, you know, burying his picture and his memory of Jordy. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, obviously, you know, something a little political to say, which I think it pairs well with what we're going to talk about in our second, where you can go right and wrong with your political messaging. And I thought this was good because, I mean, obviously, you know, like police presence and how the police treat people of lower income is a issue. And it was kind of giving me Dawn of the Dead vibes, some George A. Romero, like, you know, conversations on race and policing in that film. And I thought this was treated very well.
Absolutely. Because the cops here are fucking assholes. They literally would rather everyone die than like risk them, you know, getting out and the spiders getting out, I guess. The chick who was driving the car, I think she like ran down a cop at the end. So
yeah, there you go.
Guys.
Yeah, good for her.
Don't let your dreams just be dreams. I also like how this movie always makes the comparison of evolution with MMA fighting.
Yeah, I did enjoy that little beat where they were definitely like, you know what? There's not enough MMA in horror movies, so let's get some good lines in.
Sure. Yeah. Only the toughest in the cage will survive. And, you know, tagline for the movie right there. Another thing that really played on my fears with spiders is putting on your shoes and something being in your shoes. So that happened a lot in this movie with the shoes being like central to the plot. But, God, when that guy like gets the spiders in his shoes, that was so scary to me. And now I'm going to be thinking about that every time I put on my shoes. So thank you, Infested.
Yeah, 100%. That way, that's another great like scene where something so innocent like putting on your shoes and you have to ruin it for all of us. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a fucking lot. Yeah, the last thing I want to say is we alluded to the scene in the like entryway to the parking garage where they have to go through basically a tunnel of webs and spiders in the darkness with that wind-up light.
Yeah.
I really liked the beat where they open up the door and they see that and then the music starts and it's like, I don't know, it really reminds me of like Resident Evil and they twist so you're spiraling around the entire length of the tunnel. Yeah, it's just like really early 2000s horror and I love that. Also, I would fucking die before I walked through that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be me. I would not be walking through that. Well, with that, let's get into rating this. So if you're new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Jill, what would you rate Infested?
Oh my God, I'm not ready for this. Okay, I'm gonna give Infested, I'm gonna give it a yay. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because, you know, I think it's a great debut work from somebody. And, you know, just talking about our optimism for the new Evil Dead movie, this makes me excited for it. I like that it was French. I liked the acting. I liked how they drove the plot with showing you things, then coming back to the things and like paying back what they are building up. I thought the spiders looked great, especially at the end with the big motherfucking spiders and the cars. We didn't even talk about that, but that was really cool. Really cool scenes. You know, you do care for the characters and you feel bad for them. But yeah, I think it was a great watch and definitely check it out. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, this also is like a tough one for me. And I guess I got to keep the good times rolling. I'm going to give it a slay.
Oh, I did not expect that.
Yeah, I really, really like this one. Like I said, I was scared to death watching this, which not very many movies do, but I just think for a directorial debut, this was so good, and it was so different than anything I've ever seen. You know, even though, like, there's those elements of, like, hip-hop and horror, which have been done before, but, like, nothing to me as exciting as this and as well done as this. I saw a lot of people online, a lot of critics and stuff were comparing it to Attack the Block, which I have never seen, but I know a lot of people love. It's kind of like this cult classic. So yeah, I mean, also, if you're a fan of that movie, I would assume maybe you'd be a fan of this one as well. But yeah, I had a really good time with this. I'm really hoping that this is one of those Shudder releases that they're actually going to put out on physical media so I can own it immediately. And as I've stated many times, like, I'm 100% ready for this guy to do an Evil Dead movie. I really want to see what he does, because I think he's got everything that could, to me, this guy could bring us the closest to how good that 2013 remake is.
Hell yeah, a decade later.
Yeah, so, bring it on, bring it to us. So yeah, a yay and a slay. I'd say that's pretty high praise for Infested. But yeah, let's go to our second feature of this episode, which is Humane. So Gill, were you looking forward to Humane, and are you generally a fan of the Cronenberg family?
I mean, yeah, I was excited to see it just because of the Cronenberg name. I do like Cronenberg's work, a lot of body horror. I like the little Canadianisms in his movies, and I was excited to see what the next Cronenberg had to bring to the table. How about you?
Yeah, I was very interested. I've been pretty vocal, I think, throughout, every year the show has been a thing that, Cronenberg is one of my favorite directors. I remember me and Exilia, I don't know if we ever talked about Possessor when it came out or not, but I know we definitely, brought it up in episodes. I remember seeing Antiviral, and then obviously, the newest one, Infinity Pool, we reviewed, and I've been a huge Brandon Cronenberg fan also. So obviously I was very interested in what Caitlin Cronenberg could bring to the table, just because it always seemed like she was never overly interested in doing the film aspect. Obviously, more well-known as a fashion photographer, and I think she's done, music videos before and such, and, I had brought up before we recorded, but, I think probably her most iconic thing was Drake's Views album. She took the photo for the album cover, so obviously a more well-known photographer. So I was interested to see what she would do with a horror film.
The family business.
Yeah. So, does Caitlin Cronenberg bring the goods? We'll find out right after the trailer.
While we every day bear witness to the catastrophic ecological collapse that is plaguing our planet, we must not forget that this is, above all, a human crisis.
I am in favor of this government doing whatever it takes to win this war.
It's not a war. Wars have opposing sides.
Humanity is the opposing side. We are engaged in nothing less than a life and death struggle against our own extinction.
We are so happy you all joined us tonight for a family dinner.
What is going on?
We've decided to enlist. What? She's gone.
Sorry, I can't do it. I will always love you.
Hi, I'm Bob.
It's them!
Oh, they're early.
You're not gonna like this, but we're here to collect 2 bodies.
I already told you Dawn left.
And that's unfortunate. Oh! But the rules are the same for everybody. Think about your lives. I'm sure one of you is gonna realize that it's not all that great.
I know we're family and all, but if Bob needs a second body, it's not gonna be mine.
What are they still doing in the house?
Based on my experience in similar situations, I want to say, yeah, killing one another. You think I'm the bad guy, but I'm doing important work to save the planet.
We can get through this, but we have to stick together.
It's been a hell of a night, huh?
Humane, which was also released April 26, Friday, directed by Caitlin Cronenberg and written by Michael Sparega. And the synopsis is as follows. In the wake of an environmental collapse that is forcing humanity to shed 20% of its population, a family dinner erupts into chaos when a father's plan to enlist in the government's new euthanasia program goes horribly awry. So here on Now Slain, we like to keep it spoiler-free to start off with. So Gill, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Humane?
Well, I thought the concept and the premise was really interesting. I love like dystopian fiction and films. It reminded me a lot of The Lottery by Shirley Jackson and also To Be or Not to Be by Kurt Vonnegut. You know, any like dystopian sort of story where it comes to overpopulation, ecological collapse of the earth and, you know, having to deal with all the extra people on the planet, which is the premise of this movie. So I thought that was a really good tone. I loved it until it got to the twist. And then it fell apart for me. But what about you?
Yeah, so, you know, with this, I was interested to see, because seeing the trailer, I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. This doesn't really look like a David Cronenberg or a Brandon Cronenberg film.
Yeah.
Which to me was actually a positive, because obviously Brandon has really taken over, you know, for whenever his dad finishes as like the body horror guy. And so I was like, to me, it's kind of interesting. This doesn't look like it's going to be a body horror film. So I kind of like the idea of a Cronenberg doing something else. And, you know, like you said, I thought it was kind of a cheeky concept. You know, it was giving me The Purge, The Hunt.
Oh, yes.
Like those kind of vibes, where there's almost like this morbid comedy to it. The trailer kind of played it off as if it was going to be a little more funny than I think it ultimately ended up being. And like you, I did kind of like the concept. I think it fell apart pretty quickly. I think there was a lot of like plot holes, things that didn't really make sense, things that are never really overly explained. This to me like kind of seemed like an idea that maybe just didn't get cooked long enough with what they were going to do with it.
Yeah.
I thought for sure, like, I mean, Caitlin Cronenberg definitely has a distinct style separate. It's a very polished style. This looks like a very mainstream, like it would come out of like Blumhouse or something kind of look, where, you know, like obviously like you know, David and Brandon, I think have more of this like underground cultish feel to their movies, where I was like, yeah, this looks like a decent budget, just kind of, you know, whatever release that would be in the summer, kind of horror thriller type movie. And then, you know, obviously, I think if you saw the trailer, you might have been interested in knowing, like, it was obviously alluding that there was going to be, like, some politics in this, and, you know, it was kind of have something to say. And, you know, I think overall, whatever message she was kind of trying to say, I think got lost in the sauce. I don't think there is a fully clear message here, which to me is a huge hindrance for me. I don't know if that'll bug other people, but, and you know, I'll get further into what I think about that in the spoiler section. But yeah, I kind of felt like they wanted, felt very much like The Hunt when I watched The Hunt, where I was like, you know, it's trying to be the super political horror movie, and then it's like, it's not really saying anything, actually. It's just, you know, it's just kind of there and masquerading as this, you know, movie with this conscience in it. But, you know, I do give a shit out because I love that Peter Gallagher's in it, obviously. You know, my OC love coming out there. I love Jay Baruchel, so I was excited to see Jay Baruchel in it.
He was so good. He carried this for me.
I thought he was super funny, and like his character, I don't know if he was actually funny, but the character was funny. He had his quirks. And I thought Sebastian Chacon was really good in this. He was kind of like the shining light for me with this, playing Noah York. I thought he was really well casted and really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I had for my spoiler-free thoughts. Did you have any other spoiler-free thoughts?
You know, just in response to what you said, I think it was trying to make a point, but I think, like you said, the point maybe got lost, or maybe the point is just really bleak. Like, yeah, eat the rich, but the rich are always gonna win sort of deal. So I thought that was the point they were trying to make. Another person in this movie that I really liked was Emily Hampshire, who plays Rachel. I know her from Schitt's Creek. She plays Stevie. And I thought her performance was really good. And also she played like a really assertive character, which surprised me. Like I almost didn't know it was her for a second. And another thing that this movie also reminded me of, apart from all the things we've mentioned, is it has this like really unsettling feel, but it's also kind of funny. Like Don't Look Up, where in the beginning, it's almost too real for me, like the trajectory that our planet is going on, and we're so fucked, and it was giving me anxiety about it. So I really, really, really like that tone. I wish we could have stayed there, but like I said, once it shifted, I got bored. I was like, this is going on too long. I wish we could have just pulled it together in the beginning and kept it what it was.
Well, I mean, with that, let's, would you recommend people watch Humane?
Oh, God, I don't know. That's hard because I wouldn't pay the $7 that I paid to watch it on Prime. I would wait for it to come out and stream for free.
I think this is coming on Shudder in a couple months.
Yeah, if it's on Shudder, I would maybe throw it on, but I wouldn't sit down and like fully pay attention to this because it lost my interest.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm going to be the same here. I don't think I would recommend this. I think as excited as I was for a Cronenberg family film, I just don't think it really lived up to the hype that I would expect. And it kind of did what I was worried it was going to do from the trailers. So yeah, I mean, you know, if you weren't paying for this, like you said, if it's on Shudder and you've got Shudder, you know, throw it on. You could probably just be on your phone kind of and watching this. It's not like a heavy watch. So yeah, you know, two not recommends, not amazing.
Yeah, it's okay.
But with that, let's cut over to the spoiler section. So if you haven't watched Humane, this is your last warning to shut this off now, because we will spoil this movie. And if you don't care, though, just keep on listening. So, Gill, what are some of your spoiler thoughts on Humane?
I mean, not really a spoiler, but I won't forgive myself if I don't bring this up right now. I think it's really fucking awesome and Canadian that they play a Trooper song in the beginning.
Yes.
That is all.
Yeah, I really liked, I'm not like a huge Trooper fan or anything, but like, I always love movies that kind of have that funny, like, it's a song that you kind of recognize, like, from playing on the radio when you're young. And that song, I don't know what it's like in the States, but that song played on the radio all the time where I'm from.
Yeah,
so
same.
I always like that. Although I always do get worried about that kind of thing, because I'm like, oh no, like, you know, is this whole movie just going to be like these, like, Canadian like rock bands or something? Like, is it just gonna rely on like music of me being like, oh yeah, this is Canadian, and then it's not a very good movie? Now, unfortunately, maybe for the movie, this was the only kind of song they play in it.
Yeah, thank God. And it was a good one, because in my shitty little Newfoundland town, like the only band that ever came around was Trooper, like all the time. So my parents would go to their shows and like get their CDs, and that's what I listened to, one of the few CDs we had. And my parents were really into country, so it was either listen to their country or listen to, I don't know, my dad's AC/DC and Trooper. AC/DC and Trooper, so that was that.
So to me, like I said in the spoiler-free section, I mean, obviously when you saw the trailer, like, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like kind of have something political. Obviously, it's got something to do with, you know, the climate, and they're euthanizing people at their own will. Like, what's going on here? And I thought it was interesting on the beats they were trying to play that obviously, you know, we have polluted the planet so much that now, you know, like, obviously our ozone layer's gone. You can't, like, basically be in the sun. Everyone's shielding themselves from the sun. It really did give me Purge vibes at the beginning, like when Jared's in his car and, like, the car car before he leaves is telling him like what the UV rays are and stuff, where it's like it's almost futuristic, but like just like could be a couple years in the future, which to me, The Purge always kind of had that feeling where it wasn't so far in the future. It was out there, but it was obviously like a little bit.
Yeah, it was achievable. I also felt the same way, and I love the Purge vibes it gave. And I love that they did that with the UV stuff. Like when he peels it off the window and lets the light in, they have the stuff taped onto their car windows, which is kind of janky, but I like that. You know, the parasols that they used to go outside. I thought that was really cool. I kind of wanted more of that. I kind of wanted this to be kind of a thriller, I guess, without killing each other.
Like a disaster movie or something.
Yeah, I just wanted the day after tomorrow, but like in Canada, I guess.
This is just where I think it kind of got mixed up with its messaging, because obviously, you know, they're saying, okay, well, so the government's like put in this program where you can sign up. Obviously, it's aimed at like older people, or, you know, we later find out that it's like really pointed at like immigrants and non-white people, essentially. Although they don't really say Canada, it feels like it's more of the States, because this guy's on like a CNN program, like Jared's arguing on like what really seems to be like an American news program. It doesn't really matter where it's set.
Like Schitt's Creek, where it's Canada, but it seems like it's the US, I guess.
And like, it just, there was a lot of messaging, like I didn't really understand, like, okay, so they need to kill off 20% of the population, but I didn't really get like, how does that help the sun, like, not hurt you? Because you're just killing random people, like you're not stopping industry, you're not doing any of that. So I was just like, I don't understand how this idea would even become enacted, because just killing 20% of random people that aren't really in the long run polluting that much, and B, like, it just, to me, it was just like I said, it was just a mess. Like, it just, the damage is already done, obviously. Like, they can't even be outside because the sun hurts them so bad. They gotta, like, have their umbrellas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, the damage is already done. I don't really see what you guys are doing now. I guess I would have wanted more explanation into that, which we're just not really ever given.
I agree. I think the whole point of that was just like, you know, I guess they're fucked in that way, but they're trying to prevent it from getting worse. Like, they're fighting for resources, I think was the main thing. So by bringing down the population, they could sustain less people on fewer resources for longer, which was like part of the Athens Accord or whatever they had going on, where every nation had to reduce their population by 20% within a year or so.
Yeah.
Where that really like also kind of broke down for me was their government. And I know this wasn't just like a government thing, because the guy that was carrying out like the operations at their house was going a little rogue and doing things to like make money on the side and whatever. But I didn't really find the government or the authorities to be that threatening or scary. And if you're doing like dystopian stuff and you're going to have, you know, a very strict, like tyrannical government, it has to be believable. It has to be like, I don't know, like Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Shit's under control, you know? But here, I didn't really get that.
Well, and that's where I was kind of confused and maybe a little bit worried about what I was watching, because you know, like, obviously, once we start to get into what's going on and Jared's revealing more of like, oh, no, like, the government wouldn't lie to you, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, Noah's like, no, like, I've been told that they are, and this is what's going on. Yeah, I was kind of like, you know, obviously, we're all still living through the after effects of COVID and stuff. So I was like very confused, I guess, where I was like, where are Caitlin's like ideas in this compared to the film? Because I'm like, basically this whole thing is about not trusting the policies, not trusting the government, not trusting the authorities, which I'm definitely not saying you should do. I mean, usually institutions are corrupt, but I thought the parallels were interesting because obviously with COVID COVID being like, you know, this health concern. The main issue here is a health concern. And like the ideas around this are like, oh, well, the measures put in for this health concern are actually just a sham to like do what the elites want. And I thought it was an interesting thought because, you know, Caitlin Cronenberg is very like notoriously like pretty like left wing. And I was like, oh, this is kind of weird because this is like almost very right wing political messaging for this, which I get, like, you know, maybe there isn't that thought in her mind that this is any way related to COVID and it was just used as a twist, you know, for the film so that Jared's like kind of, you know, also an asshole for working with this government and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought the messaging was off. I thought the tone really was just kind of all off because it threw me off, like I said, because I thought this was going to kind of be funny. I thought they were aiming at a tone that was almost silly. Like the character of Bob is very like melodramatic. You know, he's kind of this lunatic, you know, with authority. It's kind of like this, you know, an evil description of like what a lot of movies nowadays would describe as like a police officer or something like that. Like he has this authority. He can actually like take lives. And it's not just the fact that it's his job, but, you know, we find out he actually enjoys hurting people and he enjoys people dying. But like he just played it so hammy that I was like, this seems to me like a comedic performance.
It wasn't good. It wasn't effective to me. I could not take him seriously, and not even in like a funny, campy way. It was just, you know, I don't really get this guy's motivation to do this. I don't think he's a great villain, and that's what really fell off for me. But I was going to ask you, how much of this, you know, even though Caitlin Cronenberg is pretty left-wing, do you think any of this, with her family being very like affluent, and, you know, they have lots of siblings kind of like in the same industry and they're getting a lot of hate from the public for whatever, do you think any of this could be autobiographical?
I mean, I could definitely see that. And obviously, you know, the last like year or two, like Nepo baby as a conversation is like a huge thing. This kind of also are kind of my main concerns. I was thinking about like, I don't know, whenever it would have been episodes ago and what we've been consuming, that we were talking about Saltburn and like my concerns over Saltburn of like, I understand these are the people in position to tell these kind of stories against nepotism and power and that kind of thing. But yeah, like to me, it's like, okay, haha, I get it. Like you're, you know, even if you're saying like, you know, yeah, I'm from an affluent Canadian family that's very prominent, that kind of stuff. It's also like, okay, but you still like, guess what? You made this movie because of who you are. Whether or not she would say that's true or not, like guaranteed you got funding because David Cronenberg is your father. Like, I'm sure it's the exact same as Brandon Cronenberg. Like, that name carries weight in the film industry. Like, he's not just some, like, for-hire director. Like, he was a guy that basically, like, defined an entire genre in film for the last, like, 40 years. So, to me, it's also those things, like, I appreciate, like, the self-deprecation, but then I'm just kind of like, you also have to kind of realize that, you know, you can't be that self-deprecating because you're willing to participate in that in order to make a movie. So,
which is interesting because it's her directorial debut.
Yeah.
So, interesting subject matter.
Super interesting. And then, I mean, this also, you know, as a style thing, I just think that was kind of my other issue. And maybe if I didn't know this was Caitlin Cronenberg, I you know, maybe there is some sort of bias lens there just because of what I expect from like David and Brandon, like, and they have such distinct like styles and not even just body horror, but just the look of their films and the tones, where this, like, it just really threw me off that this seemed like such a for-hire director job. And maybe it is, because, I mean, she didn't write this. Someone else wrote this. So, I mean, I'm interested why she picked this one. Maybe this was the only thing that she could really get off the ground. But, yeah, I just didn't think this was it. I mean, it kind of seemed like a Radio Silence ripoff to me. I can't comment too much. I said on the Abigail one that I've never seen Ready or Not. I've just a movie I've never seen, but like I know what the tone is. It's the same tone that Abigail had. It's the same tone the Scream movies had. Like Radio Silence has a very distinct feel to their films. And to me, it was like this almost seemed like a Radio Silence imitation of this like single location, everybody, against each other, kind of fight to the death type thing. Except this has been done better with better concepts before. Because the other big thing with this is like, I would say it's like probably more of a thriller than a horror movie. Like, I mean, like one person? I mean, I guess other than Peter Gallagher dying.
Oh, 3. No, because the girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, the girlfriend. Sorry.
And then Ashley dies. And then they frame it at the end to make it look like they volunteered to die.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Which I will admit, I did laugh at that. And I was like, yeah, that's probably something that like the government would definitely do to like spin. So, you're essentially your like police force doesn't look bad. But yeah, I was just like that, like there wasn't really anything like scary at any point in this. It was kind of like a cat and mouse game, except, the sister getting like stabbed in the stomach. There's like she probably obviously would die from.
It didn't really make sense that they got really fucked up and all lived, like getting stabbed in the cheek. And
yeah, it just it just to me was like kind of a mess. This was like I said, I would kind of expect this from like Blumhouse or something where I'd be like, what the fuck is this? It seems like that's my Blumhouse response anytime I review one of their movies.
In the echoes of COVID and, talking about, should we trust the government? Are they doing things for our own good? Blah, 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 blah. Another thing with COVID I remember is when, Trump was calling it the China virus and everyone was really racist towards Asians for a while. And that was happening here with Dawn and how she takes off and everyone's like blaming Asia for having so many people living in it and her restaurant gets burned down and stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, and Peter Gallagher's character brings up to his son Jared, he's like, you are on the news calling it the China collapse.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely picked up on that. And that's where the things were just kind of making me angry because I was like, okay, but you're not really saying anything about this.
Yeah.
Because it never really says that these policies are necessarily bad. And it never, these guys obviously think it's bad because their lives are up on the line.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was kind of interesting. I get what maybe they were trying to do with the Bob character where they do try to set this sympathy out about like Bob's wife, having Parkinson's and she volunteers. And, even though he's just basically like a bottom of the barrel city worker, like it helped him because he's got money. And, he gives a big speech about how, well, it's like the hardworking people and like those are the people that need the money that are doing it. It's not rich people. So that's who should be doing it and that kind of thing. But like I said, it was just so much of the messaging was so like mixed and didn't make sense in my brain. Like I was just like, I was like, well, this is all great and dandy, but this guy that not only does he represent basically like a police force, but also is a representation of like someone less affluent than this family.
Yeah, the lower working class.
And he's a villain. Like essentially you make all of these people villains.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Then it's like, what is she really saying? Because at the end of the day, this rich family end up kind of being the good guys. It's like they see their faults and then they're able to be like, oh, okay, I won't be like that anymore. Like, no, we're gonna be a family, and now we're okay.
Yeah, that's the bleak message of the movie. Rich people always win.
I mean, and I feel bad because I'm just shitting on the movie. I'll say a high point was I thought the food Dawn cooked up looked fucking delicious. I was like, all right.
That fish was disgusting. And they were very, very graphic about that. They zoomed in up close on that fish skin and watched her just gut it open.
And see, that was one of the things that gave me hope that I was kind of sad about, because I'm like, this is interesting. Like, we're a little too close for comfort with cutting this fish and the noises and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, like, you go, Caitlin. Like, let's get weird. Let's get fucking, gross. Let's do this. And then, that was grosser than any of the killings or stabbings or anything we saw.
Is it as gross as Jared twerking his nipples and slapping his face in the darkness? That was weird.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought he was definitely jerking it, but
I mean,
apparently
kinda
not. Yeah.
Another weird note is using a baking sheet inside of an apron for body armor when people are trying to stab you.
No, very ingenious.
Yeah, I like that.
Which that stuff could have been fun, because I mean, stuff like this can be fun. Like, I love the Purge movies. Those are kind of my like dirtbag pleasure, I find.
Same.
And I think cat and mouse stuff in a house can be great, but to me, it's like you kind of just got to focus on that and the fun of that. Like I said, I just think the main thing, if you get out of anything from at least me talking about it, is just I think all the political messaging stuff or worrying about what the message was of the film just bogged down like how fun this film could have been.
It was too much. Like, I feel like it dragged on and on and on, and I lost interest.
Especially where no one dies. Like, there's no reason it needed to be that long, and no one...
You gotta kill people.
Yeah, like, you gotta have something for people that are coming into a horror movie to want to see, and what they don't want to see is a bunch of people stab each other, brothers and sisters fighting, stab each other, and then they all live and they all get along.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Another thing that it kind of reminded me of was like the Fall of the House of Usher. Like, same thing with like, rich siblings and then like going after each other for an inheritance.
But that's good.
And in this movie, they didn't even get one, right? Like,
yeah.
Because the junkie brother fucked it up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I thought it was just a mess. Do you have any other notes, or are you good to go in the rating this?
I'm good to go into rating.
So if you're new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Jill, what would you give Humane?
I was really excited for this. Like, I watched Infested first and waited to watch this one last because I was like, okay, Cronenberg, this is gonna be good. I'm excited for this. Had high hopes. I thought it was decent. I thought the first quarter of the movie, like before the tonal shift, was really good. The dystopian shit they had going on had me hooked. It was a little bit funny, but once the authorities show up and everything happens, I totally just lost my interest. Like you said, it was a mess. I don't really know what the fuck was going on half the time. People weren't dying, but they're fighting for 2/3 of the movie. And I didn't think like the government or the authority people were that scary or convincing. But I did like some of the acting, like Emily Hampshire. I really liked her performance. So I think it was decent. I think it was okay. So I'm going to give it an okay just because I like the first quarter of it and I don't want to shit all over it. Like, I have hope and I want her to keep making stuff, but maybe refine it a bit more, figure out what it is like that you really want and just like hone it. Take your time. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, I'm going to go Colton on this one, and I'm going to give this one a nay. Like you said, I don't know if I was just setting myself up for failure with how high of hopes I had of this, but I kind of thought this was going to be smarter than it actually ended up being, and I'm not going to fault... That sounds like I'm kind of shitting on Caitlin Cronenberg, but I'm not going to fault her because... she didn't write this. Like, she simply just directed it, and it looks fine. Like, it looks whatever. This could be a mainstream movie, but I just also thought she didn't really have, like, a distinctive style. This kind of just looked like a whatever movie put out. Like, I'm thinking, the first half of this episode, we just talked about Infested that looks so unique and like just something like I've never seen before. So there's probably like a random jump cut going on here now. I think I was pretty much done with what I was saying, but of course, in true podcast fashion, Gill's audio stopped recording. So
I was so scared.
We had to spend a couple minutes doing the behind the scenes, but because of futuristic, technology, we can just splice it in. You guys don't have to just sit there and listen to Gill say, "Oh my God," and me shake my head in silence and judge. So we can splice that. I think I was just being pretty negative, and I really think
fuck this movie.
I think we were talking about just the food and how it looked and all that kind of stuff. So you know what? I'm just gonna end the rant anyway. And it was a day. It was an okay from you, and yeah. So there you go. So if you are new to the podcast and you're not following us, you can do so at It Slays Podcast on any social media. We're on Facebook, X, Tumblr, Instagram, Slasher, Bluesky, Threads. If there's a social media, we're probably on it. And if there's a social media we don't know about, we'll hunt it down and get on it. But at It Slays Podcast, give us a follow and see what we're up to. And Gill, why don't you tell them about our lovely Patreon?
Yeah, so if you want to get access to our episodes 48 hours early, join our squad of horror hounds on Patreon, just like these super cool people: Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Sacrotype, Mark, Joy, Carvey, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and Genesis.
And get episodes of Stream Scream hosted by Gill.
Oh, yeah, that other show that me and Rowan do, you can watch that.
Well, you can listen to it. You can't watch it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Sorry, I totally dropped the ball on that. I forgot about that little thing we do.
It's okay. If you want to listen to Gill drop the ball even
just
more.
Keep on listening. Yeah, just become a patron and pay to listen to me awkwardly fumble over shit.
And if you are on Spotify, go follow the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media I mentioned, go to the bio and click the Linktree link. It'll take you directly there. We upload scores and licensed music from movies we review, movies we love, or just iconic horror movies. So yeah, go follow the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist and get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? And I think all that's left is to announce what is next, and I believe what is next is coming later on this week. We are going to see Tarot in the theater. Who doesn't love a tarot card themed teenage horror movie? So we will be back at some point, probably towards the end of the weekend, with that episode in your ear holes. But I think that is everything for now. So as always, I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Jill.
And if you keep listening, we'll keep slaying.